All right. So we saw this a bit last year at MOA. I'm here today at MOA Range Day, day one, and then the actual full MOA will be happening in a couple of days. But I have here the latest sample of, as you can see here, the Marksman K2, which is of course a replica of the Daewoo K2. I guess now it is S&T Motif, I believe is the name of the company, which is the main infantry arm of the Korean Army. And this is a VFC magazine replica of it. So we've already seen this last year. This is the latest sample, and today I'm going to be able to go through and actually take it apart and show you some of the internals as well. We couldn't do that last year. Now we can do so here. There's no major changes to the receiver. This is, I believe, an updated receiver. Apparently, the markings used to be on this side, and they've swapped them over to here. I'm told that's because on the K1, or the K2 rather, C1 or something, they have the markings on this side, but in the original K2, they're on this side. So they've been swapped to this side. As you can tell, this has a low serial number, so these I think are the actual serial numbers of the samples perhaps. For the actual production run, not sure how the serials will go, if there will be full serial numbers or what. We'll see how that works. All right, but anyway, we've mostly seen this. I can give some more information on materials now, so I can confirm at this point that this is a cast receiver, and it will be a much better price version. I will tell you a little bit more about that later. But unlike the K1A from Marksman, which was a full billet CNC, very high quality receiver, this is going to be cast. It is going to be for more scale production. So this, my flashlight, I have a magnet at the end of my flashlight here, so I can show you that basically almost every single part here that you would expect to be is steel, including up here the gas rod and the barrel are also steel as well. The one thing that isn't kind of steel, we mentioned this previously actually, is the front sight slash gas block. This gas adjuster here is steel, however. So this part only isn't steel. Just about everything else is steel where it's supposed to be, and then the receiver is cast aluminum. So let's go and take a look inside. Whoa. I think most people are aware of the basics of it. You know, you do have your four-way selector here, marked in Korean with, this should be safe and single. I believe that this is burst and full auto. It might be the other way around. But yep, you got full spinner, full around spinner selector there. Anyway, oh yeah, so when you take it apart, you have a little locking lever, and you want to undo that locking lever, and at that point you can go and you can push it forward, and then it pops open, and then you have a front pin similar to an AR. There we go. And put the receiver aside here for a second. After that, of course, comes off, you take off your recoil spring, your little takedown lever there, and then pull the bolt carrier group back to this widened part, pull out the charging handle, which is also, by the way, steel. And then you can continue to pull out your bolt carrier group and your op rod all the way here. So the op rod, you can see we've been test firing this and firing this. Well, folks, we've been firing this a bit. You can see there's a bunch of grease here. We've been running this through. It's very light. It's all aluminum. If you wanted to add weight, you can probably have steel. Marksman themselves may actually put out a steel version of this if you want to add a little bit of weight. But it's fairly substantial. Well, the weight all combined is fairly substantial, and that's partially because this is also steel here. And then one of the interesting things, and what we couldn't show you last year, is that this actually has, if you're aware of the VFC KS1 or the L403A1 or something, is it? Basically the Knights KS1 replica. This uses the same bolt. This uses the same bolt removal thing as that, which is a patented technology. So by taking off this guy here, and then taking off this E-clip here, which is a bit bigger than the kind of old ones, you can go and pop out and swap your nozzle easily in case, though you also shouldn't need to. This is the MCX nozzle, so it has a little bit better performance than the old VFC AR nozzles. And this also has an MPAS inside, so you can adjust the power of it. And I believe that this should all ship with MPAS installed. So a lot of good features there. So the big kind of takeaway here is that we actually had this patent technology, which we couldn't show off last year because that patent had not yet come through. Another difference that I want to point out here, another kind of new bit of information, is that it will come with this optic rail. I believe this will not be installed out of the box. It will just be the screws here, I think, but then it will come with this rail and you can swap in the screws and put on an optics rail if you don't like the iron sights. So the iron sights are pretty nice, representative of the era of this gun, but pretty nice overall, yeah. So some of the information was already out there. You've already seen us fire this previously. I'll probably stitch in some firing footage just for the heck of it after this. But this is the latest sample with a little bit of adjustments, and now we can finally show you some of the details of the internals. Op rod here. Op rod has a little bit of play in it. I believe this is intentional. You have a little spring pin inside there holding it in. These function quite well. Oh yeah, one other thing that's different from sort of typical AR stuff is you have something similar to an AR group here. However, your auto sear is up here. You have a little piece there with an auto sear. I do wonder if this might. We'll have to see once these get into people's hands and have a lot of them. This is a bit of a small piece of metal, this auto sear here. So we'll see if people have any problems around that. But insofar as test firing, it functions quite well. And of course, your stock can be taken down and things. Basically everything you expect. If you know about the K2, you already know about this stuff. But this is a really, really pretty cool model. Everything also is real spec, so you should be able to swap in aftermarket. A lot of these parts you should be able to swap in aftermarket real parts for the K2, including, of course, stocks and rails and stuff and so on. So yes, let me briefly reassemble this here. Put in the op rod to an extent, and then put in your bolt. The bolt just slots in there. Boom, 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 and then goes in. Oh, don't go too far. I need to bring it back here, and then put in the charging handle, and then of course our recoil spring assembly. There you go. Come on. Boom, and then make sure this is aligned properly. And then in, and then put your little lever down there to lock it in. And then lock that in, and you're good to go. Very nice. Very much looking forward to this. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, this is expected to come out Q2 of 2026, a little bit later than we kind of wanted or expected to be, but Q2 of 2026, and the expected price will be under $700 USD. Somewhere within the $600 to $700 range. It's not decided the final price, but expected to be under $700 USD, which I think is a pretty good price. A little bit more expensive than, for example, an AR or the things that have, really higher numbers of production, but a pretty impressive price for such a unique thing, which has all the advantages. Again, VFC AR mags, great to have those. They're great mags. They have a lot of gas capacity, and a lot of people have them already. But something that's a bit unique, not just another AR, and quite importantly for the Korean community, a Korean gun, which they're going to go crazy over. So very much looking forward to this coming out, and we'll give some more information and more testing of it when we're able.